Prolonged use of substances can damage the body and mind in many ways. Recovering from substance misuse requires a holistic approach to reverse or repair damages. In the next two videos, I'm going to share what I've learned about the process of rebuilding physically and mentally from substance misuse. In this video, I want to talk about rebuilding the body, so stay tuned. During my years of substance misuse, my body endured various physical traumas. Some I was aware of, while others I wasn't. The ones I knew about were mostly ignored, likely because their effects were short term, which I'll touch on shortly. Given the issues our communities face with fentanyl, this video will start by covering short and long term physical effects of opioids on the body before I move on to the rebuilding process. So, now we're going to discuss the short and long term effects. Opioid misuse can have both subtle and severe impacts on the body. Short term effects are symptoms that may resolve on their own or with the help of some medication that can be used for a short duration. Some short term effects are what's called respiratory depression. Now, that is the slow or shallow breathing, which can be fatal in an overdose situation. But the timely administration of the antagonist known as naloxone or Narcan, which is in the photo here, you can counteract an overdose once administered properly. And there are online sites where it can be found on how to administer it properly. Constipation is another short term effect, and that's when opioids disrupt gut motility, which is when the esophagus muscles contractions are uncoordinated, affecting how food and liquids move to the stomach. And this can lead to painful and chronic digestive issues. There's nausea, vomiting, drowsing, sedation, being cognitively impaired. Those are additional short term effects that can be reversed once the user stops using. Now, because opioids depress the central nervous system that houses the respiratory centers, chronic use can lead to other short term symptoms like sleep apnea, hypoxemia, which is low oxygen levels in the blood, and in severe cases, respiratory arrest. Other notable effects are hyperalgesia. I think I said that right, which is a paradoxical increase in sensitivity to pain over time. Now, the reason why I say it's paradoxical is because opioids are supposed to suppress pain initially, but with chronic use, pain receptors become overutilized, which weakens them, making one hypersensitive to pain. Now, what I just gave is just a simplification of this paradox, but there is a link in the comments section to a website with more in-depth, in-depth explanation on this paradox. Also, there can be digestive tract damage, which is severe constipation that can escalate to bowel obstruction or perforations, which is puncturing of the bowel lining. Now, those are just some of the short term effects. Again, these are symptoms that can easily be corrected with medication or start to correct themselves with reduction in opioid usage. Next up will be the long term effects of opioid use. Prolonged opioid misuse can lead to long term physical damages or what is called systemic breakdowns. Now, it's well known that opioids alter dopamine pathways, reducing natural pleasure responses and impairing cognition. But it can also cause liver damage, especially when opioids are combined with acetaminophen, like Vicodin, and stuff like alcohol and some other drug combination that you probably don't want to use along with opioids. Even aspirin, I wouldn't do. I wouldn't trust. Combinations like these raise the risk of hepatitis or liver failure. Long term use causes reduced blood flow and dehydrations, which leads to chronic kidney disease. Long term use suppresses hormone production, causing infertility, fatigue, and mood swings. It also leads to increased vulnerability to infections like pneumonia and skin conditions due to a weakened immune system. And you see this especially with those people that are long term users of this new drug on the street called Trank. It also causes irregular heart rhythms and it increases the risk of heart attack and infections like endocarditis, which is an inflammation of the inner lining of the heart caused by an infection. Now, this condition primarily occurs in persons who are IV users. Not necessarily true because I have a friend who passed away from this condition and she was not an IV user. With the new drug known as Trank, it is highly possible for its user to acquire all the symptoms I just mentioned and acquire them all simultaneously. Many of these damages can be treated or, in some cases, reversed, but before the rebuilding process can begin, the first step is to stop the prolonged use of opioids. Now, let's talk about the rebuilding process. Rebuilding the body after opioid abuse is a sacred act of restoration, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. It's not just about healing damage, it's about reclaiming vitality and reestablishing trust between the body and yourself. Rebuilding requires a comprehensive framework with various steps that an individual can follow just to start the process. These are some steps. Many of these I followed myself doing my physical body rebuilding that I'm going to share with you right now. At the end of this video, I'm going to put up a flyer with my contact information, and it'll also be a flyer. In that flyer, there will also be information on how you can purchase the books. So please stick around for the end of the video. Now we are talking about the steps to continue the rebuilding process. Now, opioid misuse, and I don't even want to just say misuse, I'll just say opioid use altogether, often leads to muscle loss. It also leads to hormonal imbalance and immune suppression. Now, the process or the steps that I mentioned that I took to carry me through the rebuilding process for my body includes stuff like progressive exercising, where I would walk or exercise with resistance bands. And over time, I would increase the intensity to build strength and stamina. There was, of course, hydration, which you need to replenish the electrolytes that were lost during the withdrawal or from poor nutrition after prolonged periods of opioid abuse. Now, hormonal support, that's something you would have to go to a doctor and let them assess your levels of testosterone, cortisol, and your thyroids. Malnutrition is common in addiction, so you have to eat right. Stuff like whole foods, prioritize vegetables and lean proteins. Then there's gut healing, take probiotics and eat plenty of fiber that would help restore microbiome imbalance or the balance of that stuff, which is good and bad cholesterol. And if necessary, use supplements like vitamin D, zinc, and amino acids because they help support recovery. In the beginning of my recovery, I did use supplements, but I try to get all my vitamins from the foods I eat now. The body holds trauma during that period of abuse. So here are some methods that could help release that trauma because sometimes when you come out of uh, prolonged periods of opioid abuse, there's still some physical trauma. So, what can be helpful is stuff like massages and acupuncture because they stimulate circulation and reduce pain. They also support detox. Breath work, breathing exercises helped me a lot because it helped discharge stored up stress. Now I never did the cold exposure and stuff like that, but I'm told that it helps stimulate endorphins and aid in the detoxification. Now, what I did use a lot, or what I did practice a lot during my rebuilding process, was partly what I call metaphysical healing. And that's like rituals of renewal, like journaling, prayer, stuff like the symbolic acts that like planting stuff or gardening. This is what I've heard other people done. I've never actually done the garden, but I know the journaling and prayer was helpful because had I not began that process or had I not included that process in my rebuilding process, it would not I would not have published the two books that I have, which like I said, I'll put in a flyer on how you can purchase them at the end of this video. And creative expressions, poetry, storytelling, things like what I do here. I share the stories of encouragement and enlightenment here on this channel. Then there are acts of stewardship and service, like caring for others or being involved in care of the environment. Me, I joined a local church and a nonprofit organization. Much of the rebuilding steps I shared here were successfully taken by me, especially the exercising, nutrition, the supplements, the breathing, and of course, the spiritual steps. Rebuilding the body requires discipline, even if it's out of desperation. I learned this. I wanted my body to function a little bit better than it was when I came out of treatment. It actually took years before my body began to feel halfway normal again. So it is a process. In the next video, I'll have some methods on how to rebuild mentally. If you or someone you know is struggling with substance abuse or abuse of any kind, please seek help before it is too late. If you like, I can make some referrals on your behalf. My contact information is included in this video. If anyone has suggestions, comments, or questions, please contact me. Also, books are still on sale and the purchasing information is included in the flyer. If you like a signed copy, please email me to make mailing arrangements. Please don't forget to like and share. If not the channel, at least the information in the video. Start your own discussion. I appreciate all who have subscribed and followed this channel. Hey, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time on the next episode of Overcoming Addiction.